Good morning, everybody. We got a few more minutes before we start, but here we go. So I'll be back to you in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Throw this out the door. The window. Those lyrics you posted yesterday, Jason Isbell on Twitter.
Yeah.
What song is that? Is that a new one?
No, it's an old one. I don't know. You'll love it. We'll have to find it.
That's all right. We'll do it later.
I was hoping he'd, I thought he'd like it, you know. I can say Jason Isbell like to my Twitter. But crickets.
Well, that'll happen soon enough.
Yeah, someday.
Jason Isbell will like your stuff eventually.
Someday.
Maybe he'll watch Coffee with the Mayor and hear me
Maybe
mention his
Jason
name
Isbell.
just then. So,
Jason Isbell watching Coffee with the Mayor. I can't pull it up on my phone. I don't care.
can't pull up Coffee with the Mayor.
No, I don't
the
have
lyrics.
a Facebook app. Do you use Spotify, don't you?
Mhm.
I need to get Spotify.
Yeah, I use Spotify. I like it better. I have a family plan,
That's what my
so I don't have to worry about.
kids are on.
commercials or anything like that.
Apple Music this week or Pandora, use Spotify. I need to switch over.
So,
There we go.
oh, that's something different.
There we go. It's cigarettes and wine.
What? I mean, I can throw it out on my personal page easily through there. Do you want me to try to do that? Well, it's not. Sorry, it's not giving me the option. But I'm back again. It's 9:01. We'll give it a couple more minutes to get going because we had a couple of technical difficulties this morning. You know how this technology is, everybody. It can be a little tricky. Got Chris Treat here. He's going to be visiting with us a little bit as well, so you'll see him in a minute. He was trying to be cool, and we'll raise this up just a little bit because he's a tall fella. So when I turn it over to Chris in a little bit, if he has any questions, we'll just do like this, and then he'll slide in. So there's Chris. Got Dana here. She's working the background for us. You know, she's the technical guru in this group. It's kind of scary, you know, that we don't have. We're not brave enough to have real technical people here today. It's just us normal folks, you know, and that's okay because normal thing. We try to normally do this once a month, but you know, hey, drinking the coffee out of the good coffee mug
There
again.
you go. This is better.
Oh, whatever you say. The Celtics, they used to be a team, I think,
They're
didn't
good
they?
now. They're good.
Are they getting better again?
Uh,
All right, well, as soon as I get the okay from Dana, I'll go ahead and start. And then we'll get rolling with this. We'll give you all a few more minutes. What we will do is we will reach out to you. Not sure what that one is.
what's that?
Oh, that's the old one. What we'll do is we'll do a little review, overview of things that's happened with the governor and the COVID. Give you a little COVID update and how it's affecting our city, and then we'll move on to some projects and things like that, and then we'll move on to more fun stuff because we have a couple of things that are happening in the city that is really good for us. I've only got a few pages of notes here. I got some stuff from the Department of Health if I need to reference it. And then I've got the ever popular Chris Treat to lead me in the right direction when it comes to the parks. So anyway, give you some COVID updates. As you know, the governor has done a couple of statements regarding opening up things a little bit. He started talking about dining the other day on that it's effective May 11th. That restaurants will be able to start dining in operations with 30% or 33% of total seating capacity. That includes indoor and outdoor seating according to the directive, just so you know. Inside, people are supposed to still maintain that 10-foot distance if you're in different groups. If you're all in one group, you can't have a group larger than 10. And they're actually encouraging reservations for that. Staff is supposed to wear face masks, the ones that come in contact with patrons. In addition to that, they also recommend the staff in the background in the kitchens and stuff wear face masks as well. All staff are required to wear gloves. Patrons, when you go in there, you're supposed to be wearing a mask as well when you enter the restaurant until food or drink is served. All the employees are going to be screened daily for COVID, and of course signage and hand washing. All the other things are supposed to be done. They actually encourage you to save time in the facility. So basically get your pre-order. I don't know how restaurants are going to do it. Maybe they'll take your pre-order and say, "Hey, I'll be there at 7 o'clock to dine in as a reservation." I'm not sure how or if they'll do that. I imagine some restaurants will look at this and say there's really not a way for us to do this economically, that we'll just maintain the carryouts right now because with, of course, patrons inside, the staff increases and the costs increase. But, it's the first step towards normalcy. So we're working on that. Phase 2, if everything goes well on phase 1, the governor said phase 2 would allow 66% occupancy. So that'll be a little bit better. And I think a lot of restaurants will probably wait until then to do that, but I'm not sure. It's up to the individual restaurants. In addition, he also mentioned the other day talking about barbershops, massage therapy clinics, tattoo parlors, cosmetology establishments, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I know a lot of women are happy about this one and a bunch of men too. I saw RJ could finally get a haircut, which is much needed. So we're all grateful for that. Myself, it's not so important for me because, my hair is pretty close cut anyway. So I generally just do it myself. Now, while you're in there, of course, this is supposed to be effective on May 6th. So that's coming up in about 4 days. So a lot of these facilities will have to move quickly to get the stuff in place to do that. Clients will be pre-screened when they come into these facilities, or they're supposed to be. Vulnerable populations are actually recommended that they don't utilize these facilities. If they do, they may need to take a few extra precautions. They'll have to be appointment only. No walk-ins are allowed. Employees, again, will be pre-screened. They're going to track you when you come in there. Basically, they're going to be recording your name and some contact information, is my understanding. That way, in case somebody does wind up having COVID in the future, it'll make them easier to track that. If a client has any sign of an illness, fever, cough, or runny nose, they're not supposed to be allowed to have services provided to them. If at all possible, when service is not being rendered, they're supposed to maintain at least a 6-foot distance between people and persons. Smaller facilities, that may result in fewer than 10 people being allowed in the facilities because they can't maintain that spacing. Larger facilities that can accommodate more than 10 while maintaining appropriate physical distance shall operate no more than 30% of their stations during phase 1. So that's just another way for them to limit. Clients will be wearing masks as services permit. So a cloth face covering is acceptable for that. So basically, if you're not getting a facial or something like that, you're probably going to be required to wear a mask. So that's just, again, we just need to follow these directives. And finally, moving on to the one that really affects the city of Bryant the most is the directive for the gyms and fitness centers. Effective May 4th, which is Monday, which is a very quick turnaround for this. The governor has allowed the opening of gyms, fitness centers, athletic clubs, and weight rooms. Now, for staff and participants, screening must be completed on these facilities, and you can't have any of the particular characteristics of COVID. You can't have a fever of 100.4 or greater in the last, have a cough, difficulty breathing, sore throat, loss of taste or smell, have contact with somebody that's been known to be infected with it within the previous 14 days, or have a compromised immune system or chronic disease. In addition to that, he's restricted it from people who have traveled to New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, New Orleans, or overseas within the past 14 days. Staff must be temperature checked daily on this, and staff will be wearing face coverings, no pools, spas, showers, saunas, etc. at this time. Locker rooms are to be used only for storage of personal items. Physical distancing will be maintained in the locker rooms. Hand sanitizer available all over. Staff should ensure exercise equipment are sanitized after each usage and proper spacing. And in this case, the governor is recommending 12 feet of spacing between individuals. So basically, if you look at that, that's a 6x6 area. So that's pretty, well, actually it's a 12 foot by 12 foot area. So that's about 144 square feet. That is a fairly big area when you're exercising. Most classes that you take, generally you're much closer than that. So that will result in fewer clients being able to do that. And that's part of where it affects us with the Bishop Center, because out of all of the city of Bryant's facilities, the Bishop Center is the one that is affected by this, that we could potentially open. However, we have some issues that we're working through on that. One of the biggest issues we have is we do not have the personal protective equipment for our employees at this time to open at this time. In addition to that, when we went in and did an assessment of our facility, we looked at the spacing that would be necessary for the different classes we have or that we can offer, our weight room, our cardio room, things like that. And for example, the weight room and cardio room, in order to do that and maintain that 12-foot spacing, the most you could have in either one of those places would be 2 people at a time. And that's just not very conducive to a facility like ours. In addition, looking at the workout rooms where they generally work out for classes, you would have to cut probably 70% of the participants out of a class, would be my guess, looking at it, which would be very difficult for the people that do that for us. So as a result of that, the city, after consulting with the Parks Department, we have looked at it and said, we think it will be best for us to wait until May 22nd that's our tentative open date for Bishop Center and several other facilities that we have in Bryant. Just because we want to maintain the health and safety of our employees as well as, the people who visit that. So unfortunately, we're just going to have to hold on that. I don't know
It's perfect.
if Chris has anything else to say on that right now.
No. Excellent.
Now, with regard to that, on the 22nd, of course, before the 22nd happens, we will be evaluating that date based on everything we see. As everything else opens up, we'll see how that all works out. We'll make sure everything's maintaining like it should. And if we're able to open up that date, we'll open it up. It will probably be a limited amount of service, though, still, because we will still be under this quarantine related or this COVID related stuff by the governor for at least another month or two. That is just my guess. Some things that will remain closed even now that isn't the Bishop Center is the Aquatic Center, Splash Pad, the ball fields at Bishop, Ashley, Alcoa Park, soccer fields. The governor said in one of his news conferences this past week that organized sports, baseball, softball, soccer, things like that, he has made a directive that they are not to start before May 31st. So I'm sure he will continue to reevaluate that. So as a result of that, we're basically our parks right now, we're just going to maintain what we have. And as we get closer towards the 22nd for that projected start date, we will evaluate. Well, in fact, I'm on the phone with parks on a pretty regular basis, evaluating different things, seeing some things we can do, trying to come up with ideas that we can do to help people try to stay more fit. I think there's some online classes that you can take virtual, which is always good. Or you can just do like I do. Of course, the sport I like is running, or biking. So you can pretty much do that on your own. Just hit the street, hit a trail. The walking trails are still open. The mountain bike trails at Mills Park are still open. So all of our trails and everything where you can walk and run and do that, other outdoor activities, they're still open. Pavilions, we're not taking reservations for pavilions right now. That really only affects probably, I think, Mills Park. Is it really the only pavilions we have available right now?
Yeah.
So they're not really open, and that's because we just can't do a regular sanitization of those facilities while we're during this time and make it effective for anybody. Basically, we'd be able to do it once a time or whatnot. So that's all right. Apparently, Parks Director is streaming this as he's sitting here, so it's all good. So anyway, as far as everything else, we follow CDC guidelines. We follow governor's guidelines. See what else I need with relation to COVID. I don't know if there's been any questions about anything or not lately. So if so, I will get those in a little bit from Dana, I'm sure. I don't know where she's at, but she'll pop in here in a minute. So that'll be that. Now, phase two, when we step phase two, which is what we're tentatively looking at as May 22nd, again, we're looking at a phased approach to that. My guess at that point, we may be able to open some of our outdoor facilities to make it. One other park that we haven't, that I've been asked about this week, and it just popped into my head, is the dog park, or as Brian actually calls it, the bark park. CDC is actually recommending that remain closed right now because there is some question relating to the fact that perhaps your animals can catch COVID, and they're not sure of the transmissivity of that between animals and humans. So they're being a little extra cautious, but they're recommending that stay closed as well. I know I've had several people asking me, but there's really nothing out there. Unfortunately, we have to follow those guidelines. So that's another one I'd forgotten to mention a minute ago. So relating to phase two, like I say, we're looking at a phased approach. We'll follow the guidance of the governor. We'll follow the guidance of the CDC, because those are the people that are probably best knowing of what we need to do. We'll also look at local. Benton and Bryan are working closely together in this. So me and Mayor Farmer are in contact on a regular basis to discuss our actions in response to this crisis. So as we go through that in contact, we'll discuss different things, which facilities we open. So we all do like we all need to do to stay safe. Anything else you need to add about that, Chris?
No.
Okay. Chris says I did a good job
Great
on
job.
that. So that's one good thing out of this. I got a good job.
Good job.
We'll see if everything else goes well. A couple of project updates. I did a little update at the council meeting the other day. They had asked for a couple of project updates. The two big projects that people always ask me about is the Bryant Parkway and the light at Highway 5 and Bryant Parkway. And when I say Bryant Parkway, that's a continuation south of Shobe Road. We call that Project 2. Just to give you an update on that, we have working documents for environmental assessment, land release, and ALP have been sent to the FAA for review. They are reviewing that and have told us to continue processing those documents, so we are doing that. Plans and permit applications have been submitted to the Corps of Engineers for working in the drainage and wetland areas that we're going to have to work in. Typically, the permit for that takes approximately 6 months. We have received 60% plans, and we're continuing to evaluate those and make changes as we need to, because as projects go through this, you always wind up things you have to tweak, so you never get to 90% plans until the end. So we did, on some good news with this, we did receive $1.5 million grant from MetroPlan for the construction of part of the trail system for the Bryant Parkway. And we've done some additional grant applications are being done as well. So we're continually looking for grant opportunities for that parkway to help us pay for that. In May, there should be another release of grant applications that we'll get to apply for. And so we'll submit to that, and hopefully we'll get some of that. Let's see here. Public review for the plans will probably be late fall in 2020. Public bid will be early spring of 2021, and we should start construction in spring of 2021 on this phase, assuming everything goes according to this timeline. This COVID crisis, I'm sure, has slowed things down a little bit because people are working from home and stuff like that. Once construction starts, that phase of the parkway is anticipated to be completed in 18 to 24 months. Hopefully that will be sooner than that. And of course, if we can do that sooner, we will. I mean, we will try to fast track it as much as possible. Moving on to Bryant Parkway and Highway 5. The city has sent a letter in December of 2019 to the RDOT director requesting aid and support for this signal light. We made some recommendations to RDOT as to what we thought we could do and what we should do right now, as we were wanting to put in what's called temporary signalization like we did at Hill Farm and Reynolds Road. Unfortunately, RDOT could not approve that design due to future widening at that intersection on Highway 5. And they don't want to approve that design until that design is complete, so they can get everything in place like they want. RDOT has had surveyors on that section of Highway 5 from previous project to county line. So they are looking at widening actually Highway 5 from where their construction project is right now on Highway 5, right around Reynolds Road, and extending that all the way to county line. As far as the programming for that for RDOT right now, it has been scheduled for the 2022-2023 project is when they're looking at that widening. Now, how long it'll take, that's really a good question. And I'm not even going to hazard a guess right now because we all know how things go with the state sometimes. Some good news though for Bryant is code enforcement just worked hard and some improvements from the engineering department and public works have been completed in the past few years. And at the last city council meeting, Greg Huggs, our city floodplain manager and director of code enforcement, presented an updated flood map of the city of Bryant Council. And in that flood map, it showed that a number of properties based on these improvements have been taken out of the floodplain areas, some floodplain areas. So that's an added benefit for those people. It'll allow them to maybe not have flood insurance. Let's see here. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah, so they can drop that flood coverage on some of their properties. It's a savings for everybody. It also could potentially allow them, if they're so desiring, to sell their property at a better price. You know, that's what I'm thinking. That's just my guess. I am not a realtor, and I don't ever want to be, honestly. A couple of things that are real important for you to do right now is the one thing is the census. The 2020 census is happening right now. I'm sure everybody in the city of Bryant has received something from the census saying, hey, go online, fill out this thing. I've done it. It's about 10 questions at the most. It does not take any time at all. And if you can do that electronically, that prevents somebody in the future from knocking on your door and saying, hey, we're with the 2020 census. We need to collect some data from you. The census is a requirement to do, and it counts everybody, no matter what their status is, everybody that lives in an area at a certain time. The important thing for the city about the census is a lot of our funding that we get from state and federal government relies on that census number. So the more people that we have that count in that census, the more funding we can get and the more accurate that funding will be. So honestly, there's been some estimates that say that for every person that is not counted in the census will probably cost us about $3,000 a year in funding. That doesn't seem like much per person. However, that adds up pretty quick when you get, 100 people missing. That's $300,000, which could go to our police, our fire, street improvements, stormwater improvements, and, all types of things is what this funding goes. So please do that. Another thing relating to that is issue 1 that's coming up on the November ballot. And that is a continuance of the state highway tax. I believe it's a 1/2-cent tax, if I remember right. And that funds the construction of highway projects across the state. It's just a continuation of a tax that's already in place, so it really has no effect on anything right now. It would mean a status quo as far as paying anything right now. It's a good thing to do, because if that does not pass in November, the funding from that the city gets will drop about $300,000, because that's what we get from what they call state turnback monies for streets, is about $300,000 from that tax. And that would devastate our street department, and there would be so many projects that we could not finish as quickly as we can do some of these others. So come November, and I'm going to be talking about this all the time between now and November, so just expect it. So come November, get out and vote for it. Now, before we get to some questions, excuse me, let's talk about something real fun. Fire department has hired 4 new firemen recently. Because of this crisis, they are not going to the normal fire school that they do. And the city of Bryant has gotten permission and developed a training program for these people. Fire Chief JP Jordan has set up a little thing on his fire Facebook website called the Cub Chronicles for these 4 new recruits, where he's going to be tracking their progress throughout this. So I think you should get out there and follow that. It looks like fun. Chief did tell me the other day that I get to go out while they're doing some of this training at our new facility that we have. that I'm going to get it to go in and put on some turnout gear and go watch some of this training and maybe participate in it myself. My wife doesn't think that's a good idea, so I think it's a great idea. I don't know why she thinks I'd do something dangerous. You know, I mean, I just don't know anything about that. Bryant Police Department wants you to know that we do not have a drug take back event. That even though we don't have that, I'm sorry, you can drop off your unused prescriptions and put them in their drop box located in the lobby of the PD. So even if we don't have that take back event, you can still turn those drugs in if you need to. Also, they want to know that if you haven't caught the haircut video that posted on the Bryant Police Department page recently, you probably will want to find it. There's actually, I saw 3 really good looking haircuts on there. The rest of it, I'm not so sure about. I'm not sure if that they were in compliance with uniform requirements. And Bryant Animal Control wants you to know that you can still adopt a pet. You know, it's never too late to adopt a pet, and this is a great time to do it. When you're stuck at home, it'd be a perfect time to get a puppy. Since if you're at home, great way to potty train that dog. So you can take it out every hour like you need to, or you know, get it trained up so it'll do like it's supposed to and not have accidents in the house. So it's a great time to do it. You can see the pets on the Animal Control Facebook page or at petfinder.com. And if you see one that you want, just contact them and set up an appointment, and they will show you that puppy or cat or dog, or who knows, it may be a lizard or a snake or a spider, because they have some of those too. I don't know if they have those up for adoption, but they have them there, and there's cool. And a couple of them have their own Facebook pages. I know there's an Instagram. Yeah, I believe there's the turtle. What's that? What's the turtle? Truman. Yeah, the turtle's name's Truman. He's not up for adoption, but he does have an Instagram, and it's pretty cool to follow. I do it on a regular basis. Now that's pretty much everything I have as updates or anything like that. Hopefully y'all have asked some questions as we've gone through this.
No questions.
And there's really no questions, but we're going to wait a few more minutes and see what happens and see if we can come up with any questions. I don't know if Dana or Chris have any questions or from anything that I've said. I've tried to be as thorough as possible, but you never know. Again, I'm sporting this very handsome mug with our new city logo on it. I don't know, in the future, they may or may not be available for the general public, you know, but you could start a campaign making it so if you would like, and we could see what we could do. So, but it works really good for coffee. I don't know so much about tea. I did see a little thing about with a tea bag thing sticking out where you could kind of fake drinking tea, but this is real coffee, I promise. So I'll wait a few minutes, see if we have any questions.
If for some reason they're not showing the comments or that they can join live chat, have them refresh. It might have been turned off in the beginning, but I'm showing it on now.
Okay, Dana said if for some reason you weren't able to do comments or anything on the live chat or anything, to try to refresh, and that should fix it, because it apparently meant there may have been a little issue with it early on, but
Can you comment?
it's been fixed. It should be fixed now, so we're going to go try to see that. I got to get a little bit more coffee.
If not, they can jump on the Facebook page. And
Yeah, if not, jump on Facebook and put your questions there. I got people monitoring everything. As always, people monitor what I do, so that makes it safer that way. So if you have questions, feel free to throw it out there real quick, and we'll hang out here for a few minutes. And we'll see if we got any questions. If you don't, that's great. I appreciate it. It's a beautiful day today outside. One thing I do want to suggest while we're waiting, excuse me, is remember when you go outside today, it's a beautiful day, maintain social distance. And if you can't maintain social distance, be sure to wear your mask. I know when I'm done with this, I'm going to go home, change into my running gear and get a little run in, because it is such a beautiful day. On my way into the office today, I did see Officer Tarvin and his wife running up Reynolds Road. So they're getting their exercise in today. So, you know, it's a great day to do it. Beautiful weather. This evening, I even think I might even sit out in my backyard and have a little fire in my fire pit and relax, because it is a beautiful day.
Yeah, I don't say we'll make a comment.
Much better than rain. I will say, if anybody knows of an anti-rain dance, feel free to do that
Yeah.
right about now, because I just soon have a couple of weeks without rain to let things dry out a little bit.
Finish the parking lot at Bishop.
Yeah, we have some projects that are waiting on the rain to dry out things. And if we keep getting this rain every few days, it doesn't dry out, so we can't get the projects done. So keep that up. And we'll just, no comments?
Not yet.
Not yet. All right,
So,
then.
they can always send questions to your email.
That's right. You can always send questions to my email if you need to as well. I can monitor that because I do have that technology some days. If you don't, and if you get on this and you watch this later, even if you have questions, feel free to send those out to me. Those would probably be best to email. And if you need my email, that would be ascott@cityofbryant.com. And I'll be happy to answer them, and I'll throw them out on Facebook somewhere on our city website if we have those questions. That way we get everything answered we need to. I do want to give a shout out because I do believe I have Mayor Bill from Centerton was supposed to be watching this morning. He told me that he's going to watch it, and later when he does his coffee with the mayor later in the month, I'll probably sit and watch him. So shout out to Mayor Bill up in Centerton. Also here, there may be one or two people from the Arkansas Municipal League that may be listening in this morning as well. So hopefully I said everything right. So
All
Whitney,
right.
if you're there, I'll wave at you.
He is. He said, well done.
All right.
All right.
So nothing.
No questions.
All right, then. Well, we're not getting any questions. So instead of you sitting here watching my pretty shiny head in this background, by the way, the background today is brought to you by my screen. It is right now, it's jellyfish swimming around in Palau, I believe this was. So it's one of my favorites. So anyway, since we don't have anything like that, I will say goodbye. Good luck. Maintain your social distancing and keep an eye out for everybody else. Safe out there. Don't speed. Be courteous to others, and just have a great weekend. And I will see y'all later. Bye from the city of Bryant.
Good job. I guess
Good
when
job.
you